Some memes are just begging to be used. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Joseph Alexander Brown. I'm an associate professor at Annapolis University, and we got the exam coming up on Monday. Welcome to Weekend Coffee. As you can see, very important message to students. That's the mug that I used quite often inside of my class. So, when it comes to the issues of what should we be doing versus what could we be doing as sciences, I think I'd like to talk about that a bit. One of my favorite movies growing up was Jurassic Park. Beyond just the fact of the cool special effects and dinosaurs chasing everybody, it's a really interesting look at the ethics and morals that are involved inside of research. I wanted to be a scientist growing up. And so this movie about creating these gigantic monsters and the question of should they even have done it is something that even at the time was interesting. And Jeff Goldblum's character of the chaos mathematician, or whatever they classified him as, was perhaps one of my favorite characters inside of the movie, even though he's not really one of the main characters. He's there mostly as a talking feature and to play off of other characters and to make them question what's happening inside of it. But he gets pretty much all the really good, I would say, interesting lines when it comes to the science that is inside of that movie and the questioning of that science. For example, life finds a way. Having done evolutionary computation and done, my doctorate inside of bioinformatics field, yeah, that's a lot of what I do is understanding how life finds a way around these things. How does it optimize around these things? And the issue is that it will often take unexpected directions to reach the goal that it's trying to make. And I think that that's quite a valuable statement inside of that. The other really pertinent question is what happens when they're talking about the creation of dinosaurs at all inside of this. And in terms of what Hammond is talking about in terms of saving endangered species, and we've brought them back in life in order to kind of save them, and the scientists are kind of debating around, and Jeff Goldblum's character says, we're right now working with genetics. We know very little to nothing about it. And I think that at the time that was definitely the case. We didn't even have, for example, the sequences of the human genome. And he's talking about this, and this is still at this point real science fiction that's going on that we'll later kind of, before Dolly, before all of these systems that were put in place for like cloning, and we understood it a bit more. But the question was, could we actually do this? This was a real question at the time was, could we go in and get enough dinosaur DNA to really recreate these creatures? And it shows inside of the movie the system of creating them via we're using frog DNA to fill in the gaps, and we're putting it into these eggs inside of I think they use ostrich eggs or something along those lines. But they really go in deep into how did they do the science in this piece. But what Jeff Goldblum's character says is something incredibly pertinent. He says that your scientists spent so much time figuring out how to do something that they never asked, should they do something? And the use of the tool could be very well created. So it says, okay, we use this machine learning model, came up with these results, here's the statistical outcomes, here's what happened with it. But that isn't enough. That isn't enough, because what they haven't told me is, why are you using this tool? And it's very much the old adage of, to the man with the hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I've gotten into fights with students inside of my class about this. And about, why are you using this? Oh, because it's cool. Okay, well, great. You have a motivation internally for this, but externally and intrinsically, why is this the thing that solves this problem? Oh, well, why would I've got this thing, I should use it. So again, I think that this is really problematic these days, is that we're forgetting the should we do the thing, not just how do we do the thing, or here's a tool, use it on this thing. Because there's lots of ways that I can do various things. We're building these huge, giant edifices in order to do things that don't need doing in that manner because it could be done. Because it could be done. And I think that this is what the question in Jurassic Park is. He's saying, your scientists did this because it could be done. Not because you actually had a rationale to do it, not because, there was a reason. And I mean, there was. The whole point of Jurassic Park was to make money off of having this technology and these dinosaurs, etc. But it wasn't to the higher ideas is the point there. It wasn't for that rationale. So how do we get around this problem? I think some of it I've already kind of laid out. During the process of the creation, there has to be some sort of evaluation as to if this is the problem that we should be solving with the method in which we're solving it. There should be some sort of compare and contrast. There should be some sort of evaluation. We need to always constantly be questioning, are we doing the good thing, the correct thing, however you wish to define that. That could be in terms of optimization. That could be in terms of, is it more ethical? This could be in terms of, does it use less resources? And I think that is what I really want to see more inside of not only other people's work, but even in my own work. I need to sit back and evaluate what's happening in terms of why am I making the choices that I'm making inside of these systems. And I think that is something that should really be highlighted inside of the introduction, inside of the motivations. And, some people are saying, okay, well, let's build an entire chapter or sequence inside of the system that says that. And I don't know if we need to necessarily change the format in which we write science. I think it's more that we need to respect that. And I think it's something more where, as peer reviewers and as researchers, we need to highlight and respect those changes. So that's just some morning thoughts on this Saturday morning for you all. Thank you again for joining Weekend Coffee with Dr. Brown. We kind of went back to the old format of me sitting around inside of my office and drinking a coffee, and we'll just have a bit of a, one-directional chat. But like, share, subscribe, put a note in the comments. What would you like me to talk about over the summer? What's kind of interesting you guys in terms of what would you want to ask a professor? What would you want to know from myself about what's going on inside of the world of AI, inside of video games, inside of, just interesting things that you'd like to hear about from me? Okay. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week ahead.